What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Halving Report. I'm Brad Mines, your host. We are on episode 9 of the Halving Report. The price of Bitcoin is $10,200 US. There's 88 days left until the next Bitcoin halving event. But today is a special day. I have a guest with me here today. His name is Nicholas Cruse. Nicholas Cruse was selling cars 50 hours a week, but after some online interactions on Twitter with some like-minded people, he is now campaigning for the Bernie Sanders campaign full-time. He is known as Fly Tie MMA on Twitter. He's received a tremendous amount of support on his GoFundMe page, which I will definitely support and post the link in my show notes. He is somebody that definitely knows his politics and actually just came back from a Tulsi Gabbard town hall. And we are lucky enough to have him on the show today. You've had a busy day today or what?
Man, from the very beginning time I woke up. So we did a few hour canvassing, and then we had a sit down with Tulsi. That was very exciting because that's the first time I've ever got to meet her. Come from Kansas City, there's not a lot of political events like that usually goes on. So while I'm down here, since we're in the midst of the primary, I get to go to a lot of political events I never got a chance to go, being in the flyover state pretty much.
Right. Yeah, that's a great opportunity to get out there and meet her. I saw that you tweeted not too long ago something about being on the Tulsi Gabbard podcast.
Yeah, apparently, because this is what they explained afterwards. I actually heard that she has something like this before. She records her conversation when she had these small group conversations. Going in, I didn't know it was gonna be like that at all. But I actually heard about it before, that how she has a podcast. It's not like a normal podcast. She just hosts the events and she records them and she releases them out to the public. Then they said it's gonna be on iTunes or SoundCloud or something. There's a few ways you can watch it. So I'm gonna keep my eye out, and hopefully when I find it, I can tweet it out, because I was pretty engaged, because at first everyone was pretty nervous, but I was excited to see Tulsi. So I was very talkative there. So I look forward to hearing it out and hopefully tweeting it out as well.
Yeah, man, I'll definitely keep an eye out for that. I don't follow Tulsi overly closely, but I have been on her website before, and I did see that she had a podcast, which I thought was pretty unique for a political candidate. And so just to ask you, I know you're campaigning for Bernie Sanders, but you're at a Tulsi Gabbard. From my understanding, they're both progressive candidates. I want to know from your perspective, your take on the differences between the candidates.
Yeah, and there's quite a few, because I actually had a chance to ask her a question on her town hall. I know she usually shoots those live, so I'm not quite sure if that was live on Twitter like she usually does. It'd be very interesting to see, because one thing I asked her, because I wanted to make sure I asked her something very substantive, because I'm a member of the Sunrise Movement in Kansas City, so I was pretty much asking her what the difference between her off-act was and the Green New Deal. And she actually did, Tulsi, one reason I like her, because she don't really skate around questions too much. She made her a case of why she prefers the off act that she introduced, which is very strong. Her climate plan actually isn't talked about enough, because the media is so busy smearing her. They don't want to talk about her substantive policies she has, and that's why I like Tulsi. She has a pretty good off act. There is a few differences though. She don't apparently in the Green New Deal. The Green New Deal is a little bit more open to nuclear energy, which I'm on the fence for. I heard strong arguments both ways for and against nuclear. Another important point that she brought up was she don't like how the Green New Deal is a resolution that tackles a few problems at the same time. She want to focus more on the climate itself. And one thing that I kind of disagree with her on, which will be on the podcast. I don't really raise it, but I kind of disagree, because she's not an advocate of a federal job guarantee, and she mentioned how the Green New Deal has the federal job guarantee and a few other provisions that she didn't agree with, and that's why she just decided to make her own climate plan. But if you look at this actual substance of the plan, it's pretty, in terms of what we need to do to affect climate change. It does a really good job getting off fossil fuels, just like the climate scientist says. Overall, I do prefer the new Green New Deal, just because I do believe we gotta not only tackle climate change, we gotta completely shift our entire economy. And I think that's kind of a point that Tulsi missed when we had a conversation earlier about the federal jobs guarantee. She said that she didn't believe that the government should be out here giving people jobs for the sake of jobs. My disagreement on that is that it's not just jobs. I'm saying jobs. We gotta completely transfer our energy system and invest in renewable energy and And doing that will produce a lot of jobs. There's going to be plenty of work to do. So it's not like we're just kind of making up jobs. So that's kind of her main argument. And why I prefer the
Now,
Green New Deal. I definitely appreciate that she was pretty substantive when she answered that, though.
yeah. So just to clarify, is the federal jobs guarantee then, is that just for a transitionary period for people that work in the fossil fuel industry, or is this something beyond that?
Yeah, good question. Pretty much, it's a big part of Sanders' platform. His argument is that we have enough work in terms of revamping our infrastructure, and if we're going to do a true Green New Deal, there's going to be a lot of work to be done to transfer over from fossil fuel to new kind of energy. So there's going to be a lot of great job retraining programs that's going to come with that as well. Like I said, I need to look a lot more specific into the policy itself, but pretty much the federal job guarantee make it so that there is work out there that needs to be done, and we have the capacity to wipe out unemployment. But actually, Tulsi disagrees with that. She has a different economic philosophy, which I lean. I kind of told her to near the end that I lean towards Sanders, but I do have a very strong respect for Tulsi Gabbard, and a lot of people that I follow on Twitter, they kind of disagree with me on Tulsi. She's unfortunately a polarizing figure because the media, she does a very terrible job just smearing her and not talking about her real policy. She is by far the second most progressive in this field, and it's not even close. She's not as progressive as Bernie Sanders, but if you look at her policy platform, she's definitely number two. So that's why she's my number two choice.
From what I've seen, I can definitely agree with you there. But is she still in the running, or has she dropped out?
There are a lot of people that believe that she at the point she should drop out. Tulsi I don't think she had any plans to drop out right now. I'm not quite sure what her long game is because New Hampshire was one of her strongest states and she only got 3%. There were some polls that were showing her around 5 to 6, which isn't even like viable, but that was her strongest state and she only got 3%. So I think she just wanted to run to just talk more about regime change wars. So, and I don't mind that at all because I like people that run the issue-based campaigns instead of vanity projects, and that's exactly what she's doing. I wish she obviously being Bernie, I wish she would drop out and endorse them. But if she got an issue she feel like important to talk about, all the power to her.
So just to kind of jump sideways a little bit here, what's your take on New Hampshire? And saw a little bit of outrage online on Twitter about, well, of course, Iowa. Iowa's a complete disaster. I don't even know if we'll have enough time in the night to go all into the depths of that. But New Hampshire, a bit of neglect from the media over Bernie Sanders' win, or is it because there was?
Yeah, to be expected. They will never give Sanders fair take. You'll hear a renegade voice every once in a while who gets scolded probably afterwards, who will give them some props. But the media have the narrative regardless of the results. They was even saying they were like, "Oh, Amy Klobuchar, she won the night, but she was third place." I mean, can you imagine if the Senator Sanders would end up in third place? They would rip from shreds. So they will always have. They were so desperate. They was like, yeah, Sanders won, but if you combine the votes at the moderate, it just shows that he's not winning the better ideas. And this is a very misleading argument to pay because it assumes that none of the Amy Klobuchar or Joe Biden supporters or Mayor Pete supporters will go to Sanders. And I saw a Twitter post. I don't want to lay out too much because I don't got the stats known on top of my head, but there's a good amount of Pete Buttigieg and Amy Klobuchar supporters that will transfer over to Bernie. So it's not like Bernie number plus the moderate is a true story because a lot of those people will convert to Sanders anyway. So either way, they have their spin they're gonna put on it. I'm not worried about it because I don't think their manufacturing consent is gonna stop Sanders. The more they try to stop him, the more people see it through, and then more likely to get the support. Just like that lady that was on MSNBC, and she said she was considering Klobuchar, and I forgot her other one. I think it was Biden, but she said she decided to go with Bernie just because the way that MSNBC had almost a never Bernie programming platform for the last 2 years. So I don't think it's gonna work. So when I see it, I'm just kind of laughing, and we kind of know what they're gonna do. It's just unfortunate that we have a media environment like that.
Now, is Mike Bloomberg going to have a huge impact. I see that he doesn't have a whole lot of support, but the amount that he's spending on TV ads is just tremendously much more than anybody else in the campaign. I saw that Bloomberg is racist trending, and
Yeah.
I haven't had the time to look into everything, but I was wondering if you could give me your take on that.
So if you would have told me last year that the two biggest threats to Senator Sanders was Michael Bloomberg and Amy Klobuchar, I would have been ecstatic. And I'm still ecstatic because those are two unbelievably weak candidates. Michael Bloomberg having been on the debate stage. The media has been avoiding talking about the issues with Drecker, which is why we trended Bloomberg as a racist, because that's the only way they will cover it. If there's a massive amount of people discussing it and it's trending on Twitter. So what that means is that a lot of people, a lot of moderates and establishment-minded people was very happy to see that Bloomberg was doing well with black voters. But man, he is doomed because a lot of those black voters see his TV ads. Our community is extremely anti-Trump, so he was running anti-Trump attack ads. So the name recognition, we think of him as being anti-Trump, but when we see Bloomberg on the debate stage against Sanders, he gonna talk about his stop and frisk. There was a lot of new audio came out where it was straight up Republican shit. Like if you hear what he talks about when it comes to young black males and how much more they are likely to commit crime. It's literally if Donald Trump said the same thing, the media would have been ripping him to shreds. So if you're looking at a candidate who's unbelievably weak, who our campaign, which is extremely aggressive, can tear down, Bloomberg is that guy, and we're gonna absolutely crush him once the field narrows and we got focus on him and Klobuchar, because those kind of candidates, their records haven't been vetted by the media, and that's actually a bad thing because when people learn about it, it's gonna change a lot in the race, and our campaign is not scared to call it out.
So I'm just reading on your you have a GoFundMe page here, very admirable. I think I saw in one of your YouTube videos that you quit your job and to campaign full time on the Bernie Sanders campaign, and you've seemed to get some good tremendous amount of support actually. And I see that you put out a shout out to a couple people. Would you talk about how this kind of all started for you?
Yeah, the funny thing is this wasn't my idea to start out with. It kind of came out about through a Twitter post. I think it was Bogatoy's the Alien who made a post. She's Beth on Twitter. She made a post like, "Hey, yo, we should pull some resources together, get some more volunteers out in the field." And I just left a comment on Twitter at the time. I was like, "Hey, yo, man, I'm an expert at talking to black voters. So if you guys want to sit me down, I'd be more than happy to do it," which I was. Because before I got heavily into volunteering, I was selling cars, which is decent. But we was in the winter, so it was a struggle. We do really well in the spring and the summer, and even at the end of fall. But in winter, it's struggling. So I was struggling. I was kind of tired of selling cars. I was trying to see what other options I had on the table. I just wasn't happy in my position in life. So if I had a position where I can leave and fight for this campaign that I strongly believe in, I would take that in a heartbeat. So I left that comment. I was like, "Hey, I'll do it." When I left that comment, it was just another Twitter post. It wasn't something I really thought that much about. And then all of a sudden, there was people like, "Yo, set up a GoFundMe. You should do it because I talk about these issues all the time on Twitter, especially Black American issues." So I think, fortunately for me, I have a lot of support on Twitter. Rose Twitter is very enthusiastic about getting us down here in South Carolina. So it's just one thing led to another, and it happened so fast. I ended up raising like $4,000 in 24 hours. So, and when that happened, I was like, "All right, you guys thought I was playing? Like, I wasn't playing. I was like, as soon as I saw that, I was like, all right." I quit my job the next day, and that's why I shot that video. And actually, when I did that, I raised a lot more money when I did that as well, because I actually do strongly believe in what I'm doing. One of my biggest regrets in 2016 is that I kind of assumed that the Sanders was going to win, because no one I talked to was a big Hillary person. There were no Hillary supporters I knew in real life. Obviously, online was dominated by Senator Sanders, and Hillary approval records was really low. I just kind of assumed that, despite his odds, that he was going to win, and I didn't really do that much. So I was like, this time with
well, he got kind of screwed over there, right? Yeah, the rules have changed since 2016, and now they're passing along a lot more voter data, right? So it's a lot more accountable this year, is it
Yeah,
not?
thing is, after we saw what happened in Iowa, dude, I honestly don't even believe Bernie lost because they were doing so many shady stuff this time around.
The coin flip?
Yeah, yeah, not even that. It's just when we saw the app, they were changing votes. It's like when you see that happen now, it's like, what did they get away with in 2016 that we wasn't aware of? Because the only reason we even knew that they were changing votes this time is because the Sanders campaign was wiser. So what they did is they had their own counting app. So when the DNC released their vote totals, the Sanders campaign met with them like, hey yo, there is some big problems, and they end up correcting them. But hey, at 16, who knew what they were doing because they had nobody really fact checking them like we do now. But
Now,
go ahead.
I'm scared going forward because I feel like, we're coming up to Super Tuesday and so many states are going to be happening at the same time. Can the Sanders campaign keep up with all the vote tallies, and can we really hold the DNC accountable all along the way?
I really hope the Sanders campaign has an answer to that. Fies made a statement because it was right after they appointed the Pete Buttigieg lady to Nevada, and there was so much outrage when that happened because it was right on the cusp of Iowa. He made a statement that he was like, "I'll show you guys we've been in communication with the DNC, and we're watching them, and they promised us that they were gonna be in the up and up." And honestly, when I heard that statement, a lot of people was happy, but I was like, man, I hope you guys are not just taking their word for it, because obviously they're not going to go up to you and admit that they're going to steal the campaign, right? So with that said, I hope they got some safeguards in place. Super Tuesday going to be really tough because with Iowa they can just focus on one state. I made my point a lot of time that Capitol would never concede without some shenanigans. We have to overwin, and we gotta expect them to cheat. So I'm happy they wasn't Iowa, and I hope they got a plan moving forward. I apologize, man. I think I'm calling down, so I had kind of a sore throat. This weather, this new climate messed me up. I think I'm a little bit more clear now. But yeah, you said you were asking about Ilhan?
Yeah, your Twitter and how it's been effective for you, and why you keep your name as Ilhan Omar as an American hero.
Yeah, I had a lot of few names. I like that Ilhan Omar is an American hero because honestly, it's true. I like her policy platform that she stands for. She was an immigrant. She was a refugee. I believe it was from. Hope I ain't getting this wrong, but I believe she was from Somalia. And if you look at her story in itself, I mean, that's literally a story that you'll see out of the documentary. I mean, when I first heard of her, I was like, this is insane. Like she started as a refugee, and then she ended up being one of the first Muslim, or probably the first. I forgot if it was her or Rashida Tlaib, but either her or Rashida Tlaib was the first Muslim congresswoman ever elected, and she got that position coming from a horrific situation where she was literally in refugee camps. And now when you look at that situation, that alone would be enough to be like, yo, this is an incredible story. And then not only that, you have Ilhan Omar, who consistently speak truth to power, where a lot of people who are even more comfortable positions are not able to do. For example, she constantly stand up to the military complex. She stand up to both her parties. She go against BDS. She is willing to fight both parties when 90% of people in Congress are unwilling to do that. So, if, like I said, her story alone is inspirational, let alone what she is doing in Congress. And she endorsed she a big Bernie Sanders campaign surrogate, extremely anti-establishment, and not only that, if you look at her Twitter, and this is one reason to answer your question directly, why I like my name on Twitter, because right wingers go batshit on all day. Like they were constantly bombarded with anti-Omar propaganda, and they've been radicalized against her. And despite all this insane opposition, like she get insane amount of death threats. It's just constant harassment that she deals with. Unlike anybody that we ever seen in Washington, no one ever get kind of the abuse that she would get from obviously both parties, because Nancy Pelosi don't really speak up on her. When she had her big controversy last year, Nancy Pelosi and Democrats threw her on the bus, and Republicans trying to use it because I think it was about BDS, and they was trying to call her anti-Semitic, and then the Democrat Party tried to throw her on the bus. And I was really, really, really upset about that. And that was around the time while I was posting, she's an American hero because she didn't back down, she didn't apologize, she still do her thing, and she don't care about the kind of opposition that she has. But at the end of the day, my main thing that I focus on my page is policy over personality. So if you don't got the policy, I don't really care about anything else. But the fact that she has such an amazing policy platform, healthcare as a human right, she's a big advocate of student free lunch, free public college. She pretty much got the Sanders platform, and she's extremely anti-war. So the fact that she has a good policy platform is why I can also focus on the fact that she's a hero in her own story and how she uphold herself.
So, what do you think is going to be the biggest obstacle then moving forward for the Bernie Sanders campaign?
DNC cheating, 100%.
Yeah.
Because if it was a fair election, I wouldn't worry about things. Like right now, he's the favorite to win every single state, and even when I heard it, I was like, what? That's so crazy. If there was any other candidate that was in a position as Sanders, there would be massive cause for unity around him because he won Iowa popular vote by 6,000. He just won New Hampshire and had a massive youth turnout. There, he's the only campaign with more individual donors than Donald Trump. He has been Donald Trump in polls for the last 4 years. So if you look at like him as a candidate, he is literally a dream for Democrats, but they don't care. They rather lose to a fascist than promote a socialist. So the biggest obstacle for him is not Trump, is not Klobuchar, not Bloomberg. It's the party itself, and we are seeing what happened in Iowa.
So you think, without a doubt, if Sanders does somehow get he is favored to get the nominee, but if the DNC screws him out, the DNC nominee will lose to Trump.
Yeah, it will lose. Like right now, I think Bernie's the only one who can win, just because the only alternative to being Bernie is DNC fuckery. And if they do anything that they rig this primary this time, there's gonna be mass mobilization. Like there's gonna be a mass Democratic Party exit like we have never seen before. Because obviously you got the hardcore progressive base like myself, who we followed the news every day and we pay attention to it. But if they rig the primary this time against them, I feel like even people who don't pay attention to politics, because people hear about the DNC work in 2016, but because the media doesn't talk about it, a lot of people are not 100% sure how confirmed that is. But if it happened 2 times in a row, I feel like even people that don't pay attention to politics, like, okay, there's something going on here. And I think there's to be massive. I already know a lot of people that are like, yo, I'm going to be in the street. I mean, I'll probably get arrested myself. It's going to be crazy if they do something against them again. I'm not going to talk about it too much as well, because I actually was in a PM with someone on Twitter before, and there's actually some plans to have mobilization at Milwaukee at the convention. We know there's something's going to happen. So we're not going to be asleep. I don't know. I'm trying my best to be at the convention. Once again, depending on how much money I'm raising, how long I can stay on the campaign. But if I'm going to be on the convention, I'm going to be 100% part of that action committee. Because trust me, I've seen some progressive voices on the ground that said they're not going to take this sleeping. So if they steal it for Bernie, you can guarantee 4 more years of Trump, which they are more than happy. They'd rather have Trump than Sanders, 100.
Yeah, that's what I'm afraid of, is that the DNC would rather have Donald Trump than Bernie Sanders to get in. Right?
Yeah, that's something I always want to emphasize. Not Democratic voters.
No,
Bernie Sanders is the most Sanders in the country. Like if you look at how the Democratic voters think of Sanders, they have a great opinion of him. It's the Democratic insiders, the party managers,
the establishment.
Class. Yeah, you know that as well. But they are more than happy to lose to Trump than let Bernie win, because they raise money off Donald Trump. They vote for his military budgets. They vote for trade deals. So they agree with them a lot ideology-wise, and they can fundraise off. So make no mistake about it. If Nancy Pelosi had a button right now that had Donald Trump 2020, Bernie Sanders 2020, she not even hesitating. She playing Trump 2020 all day. Look at all the positive press that she gets that she doesn't deserve because she resists Trump, right? So Trump actually, let me put it like this. Trump was a gift to the Democrat establishment, but not as much as they think, because I think because of Trump, it allowed a lot of people to wake up to a lot of these issues that weren't discussed before. which will kind of lead to opening Sanders. So it was a good short-term boon. They would love nothing more if he was able to defeat Sanders 100%. Or if he just won outright because they screwed Sanders in nomination.
Yeah, that's what I try to tell people is that Donald Trump isn't the revolutionary you're looking for. He's really just doing what the Democratic and Republican establishment has been doing for decades, but with pedal to the metal, really. Like you see more protectionism laws on your international trade. You see, anti-immigration laws. I think I read in your profile there that you discovered Sanders in about 2016 when he announced his run in 16, and shortly after listening to him, it's like, wow, this guy really touches on all the real issues in America. He doesn't beat around the bush like all the corporatists that have pretty much been bought and paid for. It really is extraordinary, and it's almost like a miracle that Bernie Sanders is pulling off here. It's really admirable what you're doing, the risks that you're taking, quitting your job, going campaigning on the trail. So just more of a personal question for you. Have you always been into politics this much? Have you just personally started following it in the last since Bernie Sanders, or how did you come about this?
Yeah, I've always been politically minded. My grandfather, rest his soul, he used to always have MSNBC in the background, and I always told the story. Like even when I used to watch it back then, I used to always be like, man, I back when I was little, I couldn't really explain it, but I was like, man, I feel like these people are full of shit. But I always had interest in politics, but I always had a problem with authority, so I always viewed it differently than most people. And I remember, and I'm 29 now, so I was in high school during the George Bush administration, and that did a lot to affect my political development at the time. I started paying attention to politics around, I think maybe I could say like 2006. So I really wanted to see Bush out, and I think Jon Stewart, Stephen Colbert, that was kind of my first entryway to politics, and I kind of always read up and followed it since then. And then when 2008 came, I was a big supporter of Barack Obama because once again, it wasn't even just obviously there was a lot of excitement that he was the first black president, but me personally, I was very excited because he was talking about how he was opposing the Iraq War. He was talking about tackling corruption. He ran as a progressive candidate, and then after seeing the first Obama term, I was very disappointed, and I tell this story a lot. In 2012, that was the first time that was the last time I ever voted Democrat because I bit the bullet and fell for the lesser of two evils trap again, and I was like, oh, I gotta stop Romney, and I voted for Obama, and then I saw his second term, and his second term is the term that really radicalized me because I was still kind of following surface level politics, but then I learned a lot about NSA spying, Julian Assange. That when I really went to the next level when I focused on foreign policy, the drone strikes, and I had a cognitive distance for a long time because I remember when I first heard about the drone strikes, I was like, okay, well that's just something that's I don't know, maybe presidents can't really change anything like that. But after a while, I was like, all right, no, when I saw the death count, the gun death count. And when I really looked into how corrupt the military really is, I was like, all right, I can't be a part of this. Because actually, every time I would read a story about a drone strike, it would hurt me. Like, I feel like I was complicit. Because like I said, I gave him my vote in 2012. So literally, every single time I would read a story about Obama, like bombing a wedding or killing some kids and torturing some folk, as he said, I literally felt like I was complicit in that.
So that actually brings up a good point about some of the criticism people have about Bernie Sanders is that they say he doesn't actually have the power to do these things in office. He says he's going to deliver on these things, but he won't actually deliver on these things. If you were campaigning and someone was giving you that rebuttal, what would you say to him?
I love it. I love when they say that. 'Cause that's a layup. Because I go to my main point. Because one of the reasons I like Sanders because he said he's gonna run the White House differently than the president. He's gonna be the organizer in chief. And there's no illusions for me and a lot of the people. We know that the only way we can get his policy passed if we gotta elect new Democrats and we gotta be on the streets. And what other presidents never did before was once they get in the White House, they'll be buddy with the party. They don't want to create any losses for their team. That would be their main focus. They wouldn't put any pressure on the party. But what Sanders said, he said he's gonna either introduce Medicare for all that first week, and if you have a Democratic senator, for example, in your state, and he doesn't support that policy, Bernie will rally the masses against him and support his primary challenger, He will support massive protests. And what president ever been like that? There's no president that ever advocated for disorder in order to accomplish policy. So I love the fact that Sanders has that plan to mobilize people. So when people ask me, "Yo, how's he gonna get this done?" I say he's gonna get it done as an organizer in chief because once he gets in as president, we're not done. And when 2022 comes, Sanders gonna call out every single Democrat that opposes his agenda, that's up for a re-election. That is, and he's going to support the primary challenger. It's going to be a long fight, but he has a path there. And I kind of lay this out to people that I tell them that the only way you can have change, and if you look at it historically, like the civil rights movement, the labor movement, the only way you can do it is with people in the street. And Sanders will organize that with his megaphone in the White House. And I think that's amazing that he has that intention, which is another reason why they're doing everything they can to stop him. Because if Sanders get in the White House, Joe Manchin is in trouble. Nancy Pelosi is in trouble. Like a lot of these citrus Democrats that get along, who made deals with Obama and other leadership Democrats so they never get primary, those days will be over. He literally said he will support primary challengers for people that don't support his agenda. The first person that ever would do that in the White House. So I would love to see it as a case study. See how that works.
So if he really starts going against like the really establishment policies like trying to bring all troops home from the Middle East, trying to do things like that, and reducing state surveillance by NSA, CIA, and you have all these private military contractors and CIA contractors and shady shit going on, and is there some sort of threat there from main establishment and the intelligence community?
That's gonna be very interesting to see as well, because that's one of a big policy platform he has is ending wars. And what I think happens to a lot of people once they get in is due to inexperience. Like if you look at Obama, and the reason why they would love to have someone like Pete Buttigieg in, and what happened to Trump now, because Trump had the same rhetoric. I think a lot of people they might come in office with intentions of ending these wars. But then what happens is you have a military general. You had to have a few people that come in, they talk to the president, and they say, yo, this threat level is huge. They feed the president information. They literally kind of convince him. Like I see that happen with Trump. With Trump, he was very anti-imperialist, and then he would have a press conference. He was like, yeah, I talked to this military general, and the military general told me there's a big threat over here, so we actually got to do this. I honestly think they get convinced by the military-industrial complex. And that would make Sanders a very interesting candidate, because even though he get the same briefing, like when the Iraq War was going on, he was getting the briefing. And when Joe Biden believed him, Bernie Sanders knows so much about world events and know how they manufacture consent towards war. I think we'd see the first time a president that will push back against their talking points. So like I said, it's impossible to tell now, but it'd be very interesting to see someone who's not easily convinced to go to war like Sanders, how he deals with the military-industrial complex, because he's been very strict that he no longer will be supporting regime change wars, and just like he didn't support Venezuela. And when you see what happened in Bolivia, there was a lot of people that people falsely accused of being progressive, like Elizabeth Warren, who fell for it, right? So when the CIA came with the talking points about Venezuela, like majority of the non-thinking Democrats just went right along with it. Nancy Pelosi went right along with it. Because I think they honestly either get fooled by the talking points or they complicit. We're not going to see that with Sanders. You see him talking out against those policies. So I got a lot of faith in him challenging them, and I want to see how that works, because we never seen it before. So that's why it's going to be hard to kind of predict what's going to happen. We've never seen a president actively oppose the military-industrial complex, at least in my generation.
Bernie Sanders truly is a generational figure, really, and one of the only genuine men or one of the very few genuine people I see in politics. Are these ideas? And I think I saw another tweet of yours that said convincing younger people is like a cakewalk, but convincing the older generation is where you find the more difficulty. Are these ideas that Bernie Sanders thing, are they not obvious to millennials and the newer generations coming along? Like legalizing marijuana, ending the wars, Medicare for all. This is something that all first world nations are moving toward as a right and an essential service for all their citizens. And I saw something else that you said that really struck home for me was helping out blacks. You see Trump talking about black unemployment rate and try to boast himself up over that. But you said something like, legalizing marijuana, dropping student debt, expunging criminal records for marijuana. These are the things that are going to help Black Americans, not numbers that you can play with any way you want just for the sake of saying, you've improved the situation in America.
And if you look at the media covers that, the only issue that the Senator Sanders had with black voters is the exposure to his policy ideas. Because I'm politically minded, so to me, I can't even understand that where a lot of people come from. But based on my experience knocking on doors, a lot of people literally don't even know what his platform is. And I know that may seem crazy for us to talk politics, but when you listen to how the media cover him, how do they cover him? He's a socialist. He believes in they don't focus that much on policy. So I talked to a lot of these people, and they know his main jam. They may know American fraud, but they may not know that much about it. They may not know how much it'll save. They don't know that much about medical. Get that. So like I said, it's super easy to convert these voters because I literally I share what his policy platform is. One thing that really helps is the living wage argument I made. And I tell them that if the wages are tied to inflation the way it's supposed to be, the national minimum wage should be around $15 an hour. And one thing that that's very strong in the black community is we are very anti-corporate. We understand that our government is really corrupt. So when I talk about our platform, I explain to them at the same time why other politicians don't support it. So when I tell them about Medicare for all, I tell them that the reason why they don't support it is because they bought by big pharma and in other countries that are able to do it. And these are arguments that a lot of people they don't hear. They legitimately do not hear these arguments coming from a left-wing perspective. And as soon as you mention it, as soon as they realize it's possible, they are all in. Like every single time I talk to a black voter and I tell them that free public college is possible, legalized marijuana is possible, ending the wars is possible. I'll point to the road because use the roads are jacked up. That's what I was doing in South Carolina. I'll point to the road. I'm like, hey, yo, we can do infrastructure reform. We can do all this stuff, but the reason why we don't is because we spend all our money on endless war. And a lot of things that a lot of people shy away from is foreign policy. Dude, even if people who not politically inclined, they understand that we've been at war for 20 years. And we spend trillions of dollars. So I tell them, if we spend all the money we spend on wars, we could pay for free public college for 50 years. So once they learn that it's possible, they immediately click the Sanders. Immediately. Now my trouble is, and been on knocking doors is the older white voters, because as soon as they see my Bernie hat, they see my Bernie pin. Well, right now I'm wearing Tulsi, but usually I have like my Bernie hat, my Bernie hoodie, my Bernie pin, and they immediately, because the older demographic you struggle with because they just so attached to labels. So I struggle with them because they don't even give me a chance to make a pitch. Like they see me, they were like, no, I'm not doing it. No. There was one lady I talked to who was like, no, I hate Sanders. But she let me talk to her. So she was one of the few. And I told her she was a 74-year-old lady who had Alzheimer's. So I explained to her that that Sanders is going to expand Social Security and Medicare will be expanded. And she was like, when I first met her, she was like, I hate Sanders, but I don't know why. There's just something about him that I dislike. And then at the end, she did commit to vote Sanders, but she like, yeah, I may have to look into him a little bit more. She literally told me that. She's like, maybe I had to look into him a little more. I didn't know it that way. I think I could reach older white voters, but a lot of them don't even give me a chance just because they still stuck on that label. But the conversation I had with young people of all races, black people of all ages, I talked to some old, she was an older black lady. She fell in love with Sanders when I talked to her. So black people of all ages, and younger whites and working class people in general, I have a great experience. But it's just the older white people, it's super hard. But my main point, I'm going a little long here, is that black people, they are very, very privy to the platform of Sanders. It's a shame that the media doesn't do their job, because if they did, you would see a massive amount of support from the black community to him, which he already has a lot. He did the best with non-white voters in the first two primaries. So we're going to continue to see that trend go on when more people know about them.
I really appreciate you doing all that you're doing, getting out the word to other demographics as well.
My main thing is a lot of people say they're like, yeah, I appreciate you doing this, but I always want to emphasize that if it wasn't for the people that donated, that sent me down there, it wouldn't be possible. Not me, us, literally. So
Yeah, I'm definitely gonna put your page in the show notes for people to check out, and your Twitter page and everything like that. I know you've had a long day, and we're at like 43 minutes or so. So maybe I'll just ask you one more question or two, and we'll wrap it up, and you can get a good night's sleep, and hopefully add it again. Try to stick two more questions to you. You're on the street. Somebody says Bernie Sanders' policies are gonna collapse the economy.
I will tell them what they mean by that. Like when they say collapse the economy, do they mean hurt working people? Do they think that you have less take-home pay? Do they think they will have less than a 401k? And now this, when I encounter people like this, I ask them questions. I think that a lot of people, they just rush to it. Ask them a question. That's my number one go-to on politics. Ask a question. So when they're like, Sanders policy, he's gonna collapse the economy. What do you mean by that? Do you think that means less money in your wallet? Yeah, less people we're gonna have less money in our wallet. So people that are minimum wage is $7 an hour. He's gonna increase the minimum wage by $15 an hour. So how does that mean less money in your pocket? So, oh no, this is the healthcare gonna pay for people. Oh, so free at the point of service healthcare where people to make under $30,000 pay nothing, and the average household income is saving money. How is that? Like, you see how I kind of ask questions? I don't attack. I feel like a lot of people, they just, oh, you're wrong. Ask questions, and once you ask questions, it gets them not only thinking, they realize that they don't really have a good follow up because they go after you first, but then they don't have a rebuttal. So when you ask them, what do you mean by that? You see them kind of. That's literally been my experience when I have people that go against it. I'll ask them like, what do you mean by, like, for example, let me think of something. Let's say someone, I don't think public college should be free. Why? Why do you think that? Do you think it's because it's too expensive? Yeah, it costs too much. Well, it only costs $40 billion, and we increased our military by 180. So if we can increase our military budget by 180 billion, why don't you think we can afford college? So you see how I ask them questions instead of shouting at them? When I ask them questions, they like, oh shit. So that's people who disagree with me. I really advocate for people, just don't go after them. Just ask them to back up their claim. The benefit of doubt is not on you, it's on them. They're the accuser. So have them explain themselves. You gotta be calm. That pretty much, that's my debate strategy. Pretty much, I ask questions. I stay calm, and if you're gonna accuse me of something, the benefit of doubt is on you, not on me. If you think Sanders' policy gonna crash the economy despite studies saying otherwise, prove it. That's usually my go-to.
No, I think that's a really good debate rebuttal for that. Actually, a lot of people don't know how to address that right off the top of their head, and you're clearly a great guy to have on the campaign. I really appreciate you coming on and talking to me and letting me expand my knowledge on the situation. The last thing I want to ask you is, what's on your short-term agenda, and where are you going to next?
So my plan right now is because I'm gonna be in South Carolina to the 29th. And I plan on flying back to Missouri after that because the Missouri primary is on the 10th. So it's not going to be a lot of rest for me. I started with the Sunrise Movement last year. And now that my biggest hang up with that was I didn't have time. Because when you sell cars, you work 50 hours a week, right? So I care so much about the movement. I was literally doing my days off on Sunrise. And I barely had any time for anything. Like, despite me being on Twitter, when I'm on Twitter, that's me on my phone. Like, I don't have time for anything really. So I was doing Sunrise Movement on my days off, and I'll be on Twitter while I'm at work. But now that I'm not working, and I'm focused on the campaign. And that's why I tell people, like, anything you can help donate will help, because the longer I stay on the campaign, the more I can have these conversations. So my plan is, once I leave South Carolina, I'm gonna join the KC Sunrise, which is one of the largest Sunrise chapter in the nation. We're gonna be knocking on doors too. We're gonna be doing massive Green New Deal events. So I'm gonna be in contact with the director down there, and as soon as I leave South Carolina, my work's not done. I'm going to be organizing with them. And then after the Missouri primary, that's Super Tuesday. I really hope that we had a nomination locked up by then. But if not, we just take it from there. That's my plan. I got everything planned to the 10th, the Missouri primary. And then after the Missouri primary, I'll take it from there.
And just to clarify, the Sunrise Movement, is that direct an advocation for the Green New Deal, or just in general a green movement?
Yeah, they're the largest climate activists in the country. I've always been a big fan of their work, and you see them challenging politicians. Like, they will do sit-ins. They'll constantly organize in the streets. There was actually a video that went pretty viral a few months ago where you had someone from the Sunrise Movement, I think in Washington or somewhere on the West Coast, where they cornered Pete Buttigieg, and they was pretty much asking him like harsh questions on his climate plan. They did the same thing to Joe Biden. So they did a lot of things like this over the last few years. And I finally decided to join them because I wanted to get more into political activism last year. So I joined them late last year, and I attended not as many events as I wanted just because, like I said, I work 50 hours a week. But now I'm very excited. I got good relationship with some people in the Sunrise Movement. I look forward to having a little bit more time to organize with them, and hopefully I can help raise some money with them and continue to kind of make my living as a citizen journalist. And like I said, you saw my YouTube page. I want to kind of continue to talk to people, and unfortunately, why I have a following where they're kind of looking for this content. I don't know how long it's gonna last, but I'm gonna just continue to do what I do until the gravy train ends, right?
Yeah, definitely. Well, you certainly convinced me, Nick, that you're the perfect guy to be on the campaign. So I'm definitely going to donate to your cause to help you help the Bernie Sanders campaign. I believe you're a great person to be on the street for that. Do you want to let the listeners know where to find you online, and we'll wrap it up?
Yeah, so I'm on Twitter and I'm on YouTube. A YouTube page I actually launched a few weeks ago, the Progressive Martial Artist on YouTube. And you can find me on Twitter where I'm constantly talking shit. Fly Thai MMA, FLYTHAI MMA at Twitter. So check me out, man. I got a lot to say, right? So I look forward to continuing to help with the campaign. And like I say, anything will help. $5. We have People Power campaign, and I'm literally working my ass off to try and get this victory because it means a lot to me. And I'm blessed to be in the competition I am right now.
Okay, I gotta ask you one more question, because it's a little bit what I focus on and try to get the word out a little bit. Do you know anything about Bitcoin?
Oh yes. Well, I heard about Bitcoin, but I am not an expert at it. I'll just kind of I'll try to hear what other people have to say about it. And honestly, you probably know you've been more expert in Bitcoin. I hear good things about it. I hear bad things about it. But me being a question why I hear, so I never know what's really true. Like I'm like, I don't know if people are lying about Bitcoin or Bitcoin enthusiasts are too hyped about it. I'm honestly not that well read on that, but I'm definitely familiar with it and interested to see how that plays out.
Well, it's good for me as someone that's really deep into the community. That I follow a lot of people in that industry very closely. So I like to see what people from the outside and what their opinion on it is, especially someone who's very like-minded like myself.
Yeah, let me ask you, because like I said, I don't know that much about Bitcoin. When I heard about it initially, I was like, oh, that sounds very, because the whole idea was to have like a currency outside the banking system, right? To have your own currency. Isn't that the main appeal of it? So when I first heard about it, I was like, okay, that sounds like a good idea if it works. I don't know if it works though. Like I said, it's not my expertise. So what's your, like, what side are you on? You like a big Bitcoin enthusiast?
Yeah, exactly. I'm a Bitcoin enthusiast, and although it's a very risky thing to get into because it's a very new technology, there's a lot to know about it. I try to tell people Bitcoin is a very, very complex, but also very simple. It's based on supply and demand. So right now, say the Bitcoin price is, $10,000 American approximately. People are buying and selling it, keeping it at that price. This May is coming where the supply of Bitcoin dwindles in half. So it becomes very, very scarce. And a lot of libertarians like Bitcoin because you can send it to countries that America possibly maybe has sanctions on. So if you have immigrants there in America and U.S. has now sanctioned your country and you can't send money back home to your family, well, guess what? You can send Bitcoin to them because nobody can stop Bitcoin. Based on a technology called blockchain, which is just a distributed ledger that's spread out all the computers all across the globe. That's where it becomes very special, is that it's an encryption technology that you can't hack. So the blockchain has never been altered. So it's basically a list of transactions that's never been altered and just based on math and code. So you can predict where it's going based on these halving events. And hence why I call my podcast The Halving Report.
I might have to watch one of your, like, I don't know if you plan on having like a Bitcoin app. I might have to watch it because like I said, it seems interesting. I just don't know enough about it to know whether it works or whether it's worth it. It was one of the things I want to see how it works out, and so that's very interesting. I might have to look a little bit more into it now. Like, cause I'm very open-minded, but I didn't really know whether it was bad. Cause I've seen a lot of people like, yo, Bitcoin is not good, but But once again, they could be just saying that because they talking shit. I know how people are. I always wonder what like real experts have to say about it. So that actually is pretty interesting to hear.
Yeah, man, I definitely encourage you to at least start paying attention a little bit. 2020 is supposed to be a big year for cryptocurrency, so you'll probably see it in your sources anyway as the year goes on. Again, thanks for joining me on my podcast, man. I really appreciate it. I hope I'll definitely be following you on Twitter and seeing what you have to say.
Yeah, I'll probably give you a shout out till we get off here because I had a other media interview, but it's on the second real kind of interview podcast I ever had. So I appreciate you giving me on because I had a fun time. Unfortunately, I talk too damn much.
No, man. I honestly, I love it. I could talk all day. Maybe we can do it again in the future. I'll definitely tag you in my post when I get it up and running.
All right, that sounds good, bro.
All right, man. Thanks, Nick. Talk to you later.
All right, take care, bro.